Um, Hello, I'm Parker Barry, and this video is going to compare many popular trends in the lifestyle of people from the 1920s and the people of the 2020s. Starting off is fashion. Fashion in the 1920s for women mainly revolved around flapper, and flapper is a fashion trend that broke the rules and barriers of how women should dress from previous generations. Most of the women would wear short cut dresses with no sleeves and high heels and would normally cut their hair bobbed. This way of dressing was seen as scandalous to many, yet was a founding block for many years to come in ways to dress. For men, it remained pretty basic as most men would wear suits and dress shoes. Typically for pants, they would wear Oxfords, which were a larger, more casual type of pants. For the 2020s women, fashion can honestly be anything as fashion changes on the daily, but normally women will wear leggings, crop tops, and oversized sweaters. For men, most will wear things such as cargo pants, graphic tees, and sneakers. Fashion in the 2020s has lots of similarities and differences as women will still dress flapper and men obviously will wear suits and nice clothing for work. For differences, though, fashion nowadays is everything from the 1920s, but so much more. New clothing styles are always arriving, and most people dress entirely more casually. Next comparison is popular music. In the 1920s, jazz and the blues made a huge emergence and dominated the music game with many notable names from Louis Armstrong
What a wonderful world.
and Eddie Lang to Duke Ellington.
Don't mean a thing if you ain't got that swing.
For the 2020s, the most popular music is hip hop, pop, rap, and country. Some of the most popular artists of the generation are Drake, Taylor Swift,
Drive out of the city, away from the crowds.
and Zach Bryan.
No sun in LA.
Music in the 2020s is almost entirely different from the music in the 1920s. While jazz and blues are still being made, there are definitely less popular genres, unfortunately, especially to the youth. Music now also uses much more lyricism, electronic use, and is honestly just different in almost every way. Next is transportation. Transportation in the 1920s mainly was dependent upon trains. Trains were a critical aspect of any goods or people. Most people would also drive, or not most, but some people would drive cars as cars just got into popularity. And to cross the ocean, most would take ocean liners. For the 2020s, the most popular mode of transport is cars. Cars have gained so much more use as they have become more reliable, and such companies like Uber and Bubble provide transport even if you don't have your own car. For traveling the ocean, most people will use a plane. I think that almost everything for transportation remains the same, except that in the 2020s, transportation is much more reliable and safe, and much more people are going to use a plane or a car for traveling instead of like an airplane. And an export is almost totally just ocean liners for the ocean, and for traveling goods across the country, it's going to be like cargo trucks and trains. One thing that has definitely changed is the price of like almost everything. For dramatic effect, I will first compare the average price of the common items disregarding inflation. A house in 1920 was $6,000, while now in 2023 in Texas the average house price is $400,000. A dozen eggs was 47 cents, while the eggs are now $2. Raw steak used to be 40 cents, now it is $10. Movie tickets were 15 cents, now they are $10. If you include inflation, though, most daily items remain the same, and the only differences are bigger purchases, like houses. Houses, on average, with inflation, are extremely more expensive than what they used to be, since less land and more demand for city areas. So school is something that every kid has to experience for even over 100 years, and there are many differences. In the 20s, kids from 8 to 14 were required to go to school in rural areas were cut shorter since most of the kids had to work on farms. Religion was also a required class for most schools, and now religion is optional, or it's not allowed in most public schools, but optional for private schools. In the 2020s, school is a legal requirement for every kid from 7 to 18 and has a much tighter schedule with an entirely expanded curriculum. School in recent days is much more of a task than what it used to be and is seen as a need for every kid when it used to be an optional and less organized task for kids. Finally is Dallas. Dallas was beginning to become one of America's biggest cities as it had a population of 158,000 and lots of growth and development arose as lots of new businesses started. Dallas did have one major problem though. It was regarded as America's most racist city. Dallas, on average, had 1 in 3 men were in the Ku Klux Klan, and frequent racist acts were committed, such as the state fair literally making the KKK day. In the 2020s, the Dallas area has completely boomed as we now have a population of 1.3 million. And while racism is obviously still alive, there's lots of diversity and much less racism than what was before. Dallas also now has much more building from our continuous growth, and Dallas has always been a big city, but now it is humongous and continues to grow by the day. Dallas is still pretty similar with buildings and businesses still here from 2020 or from 1920, like the Dallas County Courthouse, Cumberland High School, and the David Building. So as elaborated, time has changed a ton from the 1920s and almost everything is different. I think that if someone from the 1920s came to the 2020s, they'd think it's like a completely different world. My works are cited on my research page. Thanks.